So today I'm going to read the first chapter of the book I Don't Need Reasons, I Need You. Now this is the book written by me, so obviously I'll start from my own book. I Don't Need Reasons, I Need You is the story of Ekansh and Shalini. It is a YA romance. Ekansh is from a lower middle class family, whereas Shalini is rich. Ekansh is career conscious. He wants to live a luxurious life. That is why he doesn't want to give any importance to long-term relationships and love. And he does not believe in the concept of the one. Whereas Shalini truly believes in love and she believes in the concept of the one. And she has a boyfriend who is studying in IIT Delhi, and she believes that her boyfriend is the one. Ekansh, even though is not interested in long-term relationships, but he is a flirt. He loves to live life and he loves to get into casual dating. Now Ekansh and Shalini, two different people with two different perspectives and two different ideologies, meet in IIT Bombay. Then what happens is the story of I Don't Need Reasons, I Need You. So now I'm going to read the first chapter to you. I hope you will like it. Indian Consulate, San Francisco. It has been 6 months since I am in the USA working as an Indian Foreign Service officer in the Indian Consulate, San Francisco. I am still learning various aspects of becoming an IFS officer. For now, primarily my job is to verify the documents of Indian nationals in the USA and to grant permission for their visit to India. I keep myself busy with work all the time. I have no friends per se. I don't go out much. I don't party. All in all, my life sucks. It was not always like that though. There was a time when I had a lot of friends, when I had partied like hell, and when people wished they could be me. My friends would say that there was nothing that I couldn't do, and there was nothing that I couldn't get if I set my mind to it. It was not because I was born with a silver spoon and could buy my way into anything I wanted. It was because I was smart, intelligent, hardworking, and I would never quit until I get what I wanted. I was born in a lower middle class family where compromising with your needs was common. Where the best thing you should do in your life is to save money. If you are doing that, then you are doing all that is needed to be done. It didn't matter how you save money as long as you save it. It didn't matter how many compromises do you need to make that happen. And it didn't matter how many of your wishes are still wishes because you are busy saving money. I was opposite to that. I believed this is the only life I have and I wanted to live it to the fullest. I had higher dreams since a very young age. I started working since childhood while pursuing my studies. Not to save money, but to spend it. I would do any job that I could get in the time available to me, and I would take care of my needs with that money. I had normal needs, so what I earned was enough for me. But now, everything has changed. Now I have a job people die for. I live in a country people love to get in, and I have money to be able to afford the perks of life. But now, I am not interested in any of that. All I do is work. I send half of my salary home and the rest just sits in the bank account, piling up every month. All of this happened because of one mistake that I never wanted to make, that I had always known to be a mistake, that I never believed in, and that I always tried to stay away from: falling in love. In the wrong time, at the wrong place, with the wrong person. Since then, my life has changed. Since then, I am trying every bit to erase that part of my life from the existence. But unfortunately, there is not everything that I could do. Today was like any other day. I was as hollow as always, as broken as always, and was buried into my work as always. Until my secretary walked in. "Excuse me, sir," she said. "Yes, Shilpa," I replied. "There is a girl outside who needs your signature right away," she said in a low voice. "Why is it so urgent?" I asked curiously. "You read her application, please," she said, handing me the file she brought in. I took the file from her. I read the name before anything else and froze. Earth stood still and my brain stopped getting any signals. The name was Shalini Vyas, the name that I had been trying to forget since last 5 years. The name I thought I would never hear again, and the name I thought I would never come across. Today, that name was written on the application on my desk, and the girl bearing that name was just outside my office. "That's why she needs your signature right now," Shilpa said, thinking I'm in shock because I read the application. Could you get me some water, please? I said, coming back to my conscious and needing to stall Shilpa to get time to read the application. Okay, sir, she said and left. I read the application and the second shock came in. Shalini wanted to go to India urgently because of her father's unfortunate death. Sir, Shilpa said, giving me the glass of water. Take a photocopy of everything and bring it to me, I said, giving her the file after signing. Shilpa did the same. I kept staring at Shalini's file. She was gone. We didn't see each other. I didn't have the courage to face her, so I didn't call her in. Would she have walked in if she knew I was inside? I thought. I couldn't focus on work anymore. I kept thinking of her. What must she be feeling? She was very close to her father. She used to talk about him a lot. He was old. He lived his life. Everyone goes. There is nothing I can do, I thought. I should have called her in and tried to console her, I thought again. She has her husband to do that. She doesn't need me, I said to myself and tried to get back to work when I saw her ticket. There was only one ticket. How? Where is her husband? I called San Francisco airport and found out that her adjacent seat was booked by someone else, not by her husband. She was going alone. My mind filled with so many questions, and the most important was, what must she be going through and how could I let her be alone in such a time? I called the airport again, booked a ticket for myself in the same flight and left the office. I was late to the airport. Passengers had started boarding the plane. I wouldn't have been allowed to board that flight if I wouldn't have been a diplomat. I walked into the plane. I saw her. She was leaning back on her seat with her eyes closed. She was as beautiful as ever. She seemed like nothing has changed. I walked towards her. She was wearing a blue top. I remembered how beautiful she looked in blue. When I reached close enough, I saw tears rolling down her cheeks and dark circles around her eyes. She must be crying since she got the news. I wanted to talk to her, but I didn't know what to say. And how would she react to see me after so long? I didn't even know if she would want me there. Or worse, if she would even remember me. I was just standing there beside her, not knowing what to do. I started to ask myself about how stupid I must be to not to think twice before showing up here like this. Sir, would you please take your seat? An air hostess said, breaking my thoughts. I nodded and sat on my seat beside her, slowly. I didn't want to disturb her. Actually, I didn't want her to open her eyes and see me because I wasn't sure what would I say once she sees me. But something else happened as soon as I sat on my seat. Something I haven't anticipated. She hugged me. She didn't even open her eyes, just hugged me. I was shocked and confused and again unable to decide what to do. I didn't do anything. It was all a lot for me to take in. All those feelings that I had kept buried, all those memories that I didn't want to remember, and all that pain that I didn't want to go through again, all of that was coming back, all at once. And with all that, a lot of questions were arising in my head, like what happened to her father? How is she holding up? And where the fuck is her husband? But right now, the most urgent question was, does she know who she's hugging? Because I didn't see her open her eyes and I don't think she would hug me. My thoughts were broken by her words. I know you would come, she said, her eyes still closed. Do you know who am I? I asked, just to be clear that we are on the same page. Yes, Ekansh, I know who you are, she replied, without opening her eyes and without letting me go. How did you know that? Did you see me coming? I asked curiously. No, she said, still hugging me, and continued. But I knew that if anyone sits beside me today, then it would only be you, and this flight wouldn't take off until that happens. I have had heard things like that about me a lot of times in the past. But recently, I had forgotten that I would pull anything like that. I was not a cool guy or a stud anymore. I was a boring government employee, not interested in anything else but work. But yes, she was right. I couldn't let her go without me being there for her. I had made her that promise, and I had all the intention of keeping it. There was a silence for some time. I had her hands wrapped around my waist and her head resting on my chest. And I was sitting there like a statue, thinking about where to put my hands. Her sobbing had stopped now, so I was a little relieved because doesn't matter what the reason is, I just could not see her cry. It was time to take off. Seatbelt signs turned on. An air hostess started to give safety instructions. I asked Shalini to put on the seatbelt. She pulled herself back and put her seatbelt on. We both leaned back on our seats and looked at each other. I still couldn't believe I was sitting beside her. It was far too much for me. I could not even dream about it. In fact, I wished I could never dream about her anyway. I wanted to erase her from my conscience, and I was ready to pay any price for it. And yet, there I was, sitting beside her, because I still could not see her in pain and I could not forget the promise I made her. I was an idiot, a notion that a lot of people given me since I had dropped out of IIT Bombay. Her eyes were still wet, her dark circles were more eminent from this close, her lips were dry and her face was sad. And yet, she was all that I wanted to see. I just wanted to keep looking at her. She smiled, though not as gracefully as she used to. Even through her smile, I could see how much pain she was in. I couldn't smile back looking at her like this. How did you manage to get this seat? It was booked by someone else, she asked curiously. She knew I was good with words, and I had made a lot of things possible by asking nicely. But she wanted to know if I totally relied on my words in this situation. I didn't have time to convince, I didn't want to hear no. So I bought a first class ticket and exchanged it with the lady who has booked this seat. She was happy to comply, I said. She clapped her hands and smiled. I didn't. I couldn't. Now you tell me, how did you know I would be here? I asked, desperate to know how could she even think that I would be there. Because I told you, she said. What do you mean? I asked again, surprised to hear her answer. I have a multiple entry visa. I can go to India whenever I want. I didn't need to go to the Indian consulate for permission. I knew that you worked there, coming to your office with that application and plane ticket under the pretext of document verification was just a way to letting you know that I need you, she said, looking into my eyes. I remembered the way she looked at me before. I saw the same intensity and passion in her eyes. I felt an urge to lean towards her, but I controlled myself and asked, You knew I was working in San Francisco? Yes, you didn't keep track of me, but I had always kept track of you through Suren, she said, showing anger in her eyes. Now I smiled. You have become smart with time, I said, smiling. I was always smart. You were an idiot, she said, hitting my forehead with her fingers. I said nothing, just kept looking at her. I could spend my life looking at her, just like that. Who drops out of IIT for a girl, Ekansh? She asked. There was pain in her eyes. For me, an idiot like me, I replied, having nothing else to say. This was not the first time I was asked this question. Everyone who knew or found out about my love story had asked me the same question. I never had the answer. They all thought I was an idiot. Maybe I was, but dropping out of IIT was the only option I had. I could never explain why to anyone, but I just could not stay there. Don't you regret it? She asked, looking at me. I do, every day, I replied, looking down. You must hate me, she asked, making a sorry face. I try to, but I can't, I said. Why? She asked. I looked into her eyes and said, Because you are the most beautiful thing that has ever happened to me. She looked back into my eyes. There was a silence for some time. None of us moved. I felt something in her eyes. I lost the sense of where I was and why was I there. But I pulled myself back in a few seconds, turned my eyes away from her and leaned back to my seat, avoiding seeing her. She kept looking at me and said, I'm sorry. For what? I asked. For everything, she replied. You don't need to. You did nothing wrong, I said. You had to drop out of IIT because of me, she said. You didn't ask me to drop out. It was my decision. Though I regret it, but if I see it the other way, then I am. What I am today is because of that decision. If I had not dropped out of IIT, then I had never prepared for UPSC. And I had never become an IFS officer. I am happy with my job, so you don't have to feel sorry for me. I have one of the best careers that one could have, I said, looking at her. There was a silence for some more time. We were taking a lot of time to talk, and we were soon running out of words. Why isn't your husband with you? I asked, breaking the silence. Because I am not married, she replied. What? Aren't you guys together? How could that happen? I reacted in surprise. So many questions. We are together, but not married, she said, keeping it short. When are you going to get married? I asked, wishing she would say never. Haven't really put much thought on it. Being investment banker is a tough job. Busy in making name for myself right now, she replied with blank expressions. What does he say about that? What's his name? I asked, trying to remember his name. Can we talk about it later? I'm not in the mood. Please change the subject, she said, avoiding answering. Okay, I nodded. Tell me about you. You married? She asked. When you knew I'm working in the USA, when you planned all this scheme to bring me here, and when you have had kept the track of me, then you must have also known that I'm not married, I said, teasing her. She gave me an angry look and said, You think expecting you to be here was a scheme? Go back then. I smiled and said, Look around you. We are 35,000 feet above the ground. I can't go back now. Means you wanted to go back. She kept the look. I didn't mean that. I smiled. What do you mean then? She asked, still angry. She was not crying anymore. I didn't know how to console her. But all this conversation and teasing has diverted her mind from crying to being angry at me. It's a small price to pay. I'm just teasing. I wanted to be here with you. It was a promise I made you, and I intend to keep my promises, I said. But you didn't keep it, she said, making a sad face. I gave her a puzzled look. She kept me puzzled by not saying anything. I didn't ask either. A lot had happened in these past few years. We were not as close as before, to force each other to share everything that was in our hearts. I'm sorry for making you think that way, I said, looking at her and continued. I would make it up to you. She locked her arm with mine, rested her head on my shoulder, closed her eyes and said, you made it up to me by showing up today, Ekansh. Because today is the day I needed you the most. I don't know how would I have made this journey without you. There was a relief on her face, but I was confused. It was very difficult for me to understand how to react on what she was saying. I was getting mixed signals. She was not married, but she was still in a relationship with him. Yet, she was not with him today, especially today. He must have known that her father is no more. Didn't he want to be with her? Or did she ask him not to? But if she did, then why? To be with me? But again, why? She had made it very clear that we had no future. Why suddenly she would want to be with me? Why would she ask him to not to be with her and expect me to be here? And why does she not want to talk about it? Why is she avoiding that conversation when before all she would talk about was him? There were so many questions. I was being overwhelmed by all those questions. I couldn't think straight. Or maybe I was overthinking. Maybe he is not working in the USA anymore, or not present in the USA at this moment. She didn't want to be alone in such a time, and I am the only one she knew to be with her. Maybe she just wanted me to be around as a friend in this difficult time. All this thinking was not leading anywhere, but one thing was very clear. That is, she needs me now. I need to be around for now at least. I decided to stop thinking about it and just be there with her as a friend until all this is over. Then I would come back to my job and go back to being normal. Like that's even possible. A thought crossed my mind. No more thinking, I thought again. She interrupted me and asked, still leaning on my shoulder with her eyes closed. Why are you quiet? Say something, she added. When did you eat the last time? I asked. I'm not hungry, she replied. That's not what I asked, I said, my voice tough. I don't remember, she said in a low voice. I pushed the button above our seat. An air hostess showed up and asked, how can I help you, sir? By going back, Shalini said without opening her eyes. I'm sorry for that. Could you please bring something to eat? I said, looking at the air hostess. Dinner would be served in a moment, sir, she said. Okay, I said. She gave me a smile. I smiled back. She left. Shalini saw me smiling at her. She got back to her seat and asked, so, anyone new in life? No, I replied. She gave me a shocked look and said, you, Ekansh Patel, who once told me that there is no life if there is no girl in life, have no one in his life? That's a shocker. Things change, I said with no expressions on my face. Why are you so serious? I feel like I'm talking to a completely different person, she said, making a sad face. That was a different time. This is a different time. People change. I have changed too. Or I would say, I have grown up with time. I said, looking straight, avoiding her. But I like the Ekansh I met 5 years ago, she said. And you left the same Ekansh. Means clearly something was wrong with him and he needed to change. I said and continued. By the way, it was 5.5 years ago. My expressions saying I have counted the days better than her. 5 years, 5 months, 19 days, she said, giving me the same expression. I didn't understand what to say to that. My confusion was increasing with every minute that I was spending with her. She paused for a few seconds and then replied to what I said. There was nothing wrong with you, Ekansh. You were everything a girl could ask for. But the girl I wanted didn't want me, I said, looking at her. She looked at me, our eyes met. I felt something again. Something she wanted me to see. Something her eyes were trying to say to me. There was a time when I could read her through her eyes and could tell what she was feeling without her uttering a word. But all that gave me was pain, endless pain. I'm still trying to get over with it. I didn't want to go through that again. I looked away from her eyes. There was a silence for some time, which was then broken by a voice Sir, veg or non-veg? I looked in the direction of the voice. It was a guy from the cabin crew with a trolley of packed dinner. What's in non-veg? I asked. Chicken, he replied. Non-veg then, 2 plates, I said. Okay sir, he obliged. He gave us 2 plates and left. I pulled out the trays from the back of the seats in front of us and put our dinner on them, one for me, one for Shalini. I don't want to eat anything, I'm not hungry, she protested. Don't be a child, you need to eat something, you need energy, I tried to convince her. No, I really don't want it, she protested hard. Shalini, don't make me force feed you, I said, my voice firm. She said nothing. Shalini, eat something, or I won't eat either. I have been busy packing, booking tickets and all, so I didn't get time to have lunch today. Do you really want to keep me from the dinner as well? I said and waited for her reply. She said nothing. Okay then, I would send the plates back, I said angrily. I got up and pushed the button to call someone from the cabin crew. A girl showed up and asked, How may I help you, sir? Before I could say anything, Shalini jumped in and said, Could you get us some water, please? Sure, madam, she said and left with a smile. Shalini looked at me with a sad face, said nothing, then looked at her plate and started to open it. In a few moments, the air hostess came with water bottles. I too unpacked my dinner, looked at Shalini. She was eating quietly, looking down in a slow pace. I started my dinner too. I would give her a look whenever she would stop eating. She would then take a bite again. It took some time, but finally we finished our dinner together. After finishing her dinner, she looked at me and said, You still don't quit, do you? You need to take some rest, I said. Can't we talk a little more? She insisted. I would still be here when you wake up. We can talk then. Right now you need to take rest, I said, while pushing her back to her seat in sleeping position. I took out a blanket, tucked her inside it and put my hands on her eyes, signaling her to close them. She held my hand, brought it down to the armrest, but didn't open her eyes. Neither did she leave my hand. I'm happy to see you, Ekansh, she said in a sleepy voice. I'm happy to see you happy, Shalini, I said, resting my head on the seat and taking a blanket over. Shalini fell asleep quick. It was obvious. I looked at her, so calm. God, she is so beautiful. She hadn't changed much, and the little changes in her had made her more beautiful. I could still remember how she looked when I saw her for the first time, like it was yesterday. I leaned back to my seat, closed my eyes, and went back to the memory lane.